Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing some French cuff neon accents. This is how they turned out. I was just adding the neon accents to the French polygel nails that I did for you last week. Starting out, I had to file off the top coat from the original set, so I'm just using a 180 grit file and going through and just gently buffing and filing off that top coat. You want to just make sure that you pay particular attention around the cuticle and just make sure that you have all of the shine off. That cuff is only going to be right behind the tip, but we are going to cover it with top coat, so we don't want any bulkiness anywhere, and that's why we just want to make sure that it is completely filed down from the original top coat before we go in with our application. I do have to apologize if my voice cracks at all during this video. I do have a cold, so sorry about that, guys. I'm just going in now with some alcohol on a nail brush and cleaning off my nails. And then I'm going to use this Fluorescent Fall set from Beetles. These are gel polishes. So I'm just laying down the color on my palette and using a long striper brush to start going in. And I'm just laying this down directly where the white tip meets that pink nail bed color. And then I found that it's easy enough to make a mistake and have to wipe the whole nail off when I'd previously done a cuff to look like this. So now anytime I do intricate work or details like this, I cure as I go. I just do flash cures of 3 to 5 seconds every time that I see something that I like. So I laid down the first line all the way from sidewall to sidewall, following that smile line. I liked how it was looking, so I went in and cured it for 5 seconds, and then laying down some more. I did want it to be thicker at the kind of tip, and then kind of taper down on the edges. So that's just what I'm doing here, and using a cleanup brush with some alcohol on it just to clean up anything that may be out of place. And I do apologize, guys. I noticed here while I was editing there were a couple areas where my camera was really shaky. After I get past my pointer finger, excuse me, after I get past my pointer finger, I don't really notice that happens. But I think it's because my kids were home this day, so they were running around and making my camera bounce. I'm so sorry about that. But like I said, just going through and curing it every time that I like what I've done. And then even after I finish that nail, I still only do a 5-second cure because I'm going to do a full cure at the very end. So before I started with this nail, I decided to go in with a dotting tool and just dot the very center so I know where that's at, and I can just pull down my lines from that center point. It makes it a lot easier to get that kind of rounded tip at the smile line. And then of course just going in and cleaning up with my brush anytime that I need to. Also, you'll see that every time I go into cure, I do move my palette back a bit. I just don't want to cure the gel on my palette. So I just want to lift that out of the way. So like I said before, just starting out always with the dot right in the middle of the nail and pulling the lines down from there. And I do go in with each color probably 2 to 3 times, like a full line across, because we want to build it up thick enough. I'll show you why here later. You'll see why it's important that we have that thick enough, but it's also for vibrancy. See, that's why I cure it, because you could see right there that I'd messed up and I was able to just go in with the alcohol wipe and wipe it off without wiping off all my work because I had already cured that original line. But for some colors like this yellow, I went in I think 3 times, whereas with the pink and orange I only did twice, because I needed it to be more vibrant and saturated. And again, I just had too thick of application there, so I just went in with some alcohol and wiped it right off. And then curing again for 5 seconds, finishing up the nail, and then I'll cure again for 5 seconds before moving on to the next nail. This middle finger gave me the hardest time for sure. The yellow was just, it's a bit hard to see the difference between the yellow because it is so translucent, so it's kind of hard to see what you're doing exactly. And because I had to sit so far back so that you guys can see it in the camera, if I was a lot closer, which generally when I'm working on myself I do bring it a lot closer, it would have been easier, I think. I love these colors though, they are all so pretty, and honestly I thought the yellow was going to be my favorite, and I'm not a big fan of green, but this green is like giving me life, guys. And the pink, oh, so pretty. So you can see, every time I push it down to like that sidewall area, I'm kind of using the tip of my thumb from my other hand just to kind of wipe off any excess that may have touched the skin, and also to thin out that very edge part. And you can see I'm using my other hand, my pinky there, to stabilize my hand. I am very, very shaky just naturally, so doing work like this is pretty difficult for me. So I found some tricks, like you breathe in, and as you're breathing out, you lay down your line, and that helps keep it smooth and stable so much better. And then I've also found, on that first nail, I'm sure you would have seen that I kept doing very short strokes, picking up, going back, picking up, going back. Whereas on this final nail, I'm able to do more fluid, full strokes. And that's just because the more I do it, I think that's like that for anybody, that the more you do it, the easier it gets. So by the pinky, I'm a lot more comfortable, and I just have my technique down for this session, I guess you would call it. Muscle memory, I guess, isn't great with detailed nail art. So this here is why I was saying we wanted to have these thick enough, because now we're able to take our 180 grit file and just kind of clean up the lines. So I do this 2 ways. I first stand the file up and kind of butt it up against that line and drag it through, and then I lay it down and butt it up against that line and file against it. It just gives it a really clean look, and also any staining on my white French tip, which I did have in a couple areas, it was able to get that right off for me. And then I cleaned it up with alcohol so I could see exactly what everything looked like. And now I'm going in and cleaning up the very corners and the insides of the lines. I kind of hold the file almost like a pen when I'm going in on those very inside areas. It's kind of a tight place to get to, so kind of holding it more like a pen helps. And then you just want to make sure you get those corners where they meet up with the side wall just really nice and tight, and thinned out nicely so that they're not thick or anything. That way it'll give it a real nice, neat look, because if they're thick, it's really going to ruin the look of it. And then finally just using some top coat. I do have a Beetles top coat, and I wish I would have used this for this. I don't know why I didn't. When I went in with my gems later, I used my Beetles top coat, but for some reason this was already out from the polygel set, and so I used it. Oh well, I guess. And I do end up adding some gems to these, but for some reason I lost the footage, so I apologize for that, guys, but you'll see it here in just a second. So finishing off that last nail with top coat, cure them for 60 seconds and you're good to go. This is how they looked with the gems all finished. I love how they turned out, and I'll show you my other hand how it looked without the gems. I ended up leaving it this way. Do you guys do that ever, where you leave one hand different from the other hand? Because I'm still rocking one with gems, one without. But that's it, guys. Make sure you let me know what you think down below. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!